Welcome back, everyone, to the LEC studio. It has been a close fight so far between the two Titans as G2 just tied things up in Game 2. A much better look from G2 Esports coming into this second game. What can we attribute it to when it comes to picks and bans?
I mean, Mickey X busting out the Leona. What's not to love? I think, Cajal, you said it best behind the scenes. It's like two Hylissings. Both these guys just wildly diving in constantly and having the tools to do it obviously made a big difference for G2.
Yeah, I love the change-up from G2. Go back to the set. It was working so much better last week. And just drop the Lilia. Don't really need to play these scaling junglers. Just lock in the set, lock in the Leona, and just look for plays. And that's exactly what they did.
What else that maybe didn't meet the eye, which is why we have experts like you guys employed?
You can see they changed the Thresh ban for Ashe, and normally Nautilus is a good pick into Thresh, so that's why Fnatic go for the 1-2 on the Jhin Nautilus. I think Reckless had to swap up his champion pool, obviously, because Sen has been picked away. And I like the response from G2, like I said, just instantly lock in the Leona in the set. And it's just a common draft from G2 where they draft these winning lanes with push, and then they draft an early game jungle and a playmaking support, and then they just look to snowball the lanes. And although they didn't do it super successfully to the early mid game, I think the concept was good and their team fighting was really strong.
I completely agree, and I think we're continuing to see in this series kind of the weakness of the Lilia Akali as a duo. It doesn't really give you the jungle mid that you're looking for, even though we saw a lot of other members of Fnatic step up, with Hylissang really looking like a strong duo in the early stages of this game. Admittedly, that duo together is not clicking for me. Of course, maybe it's doing great in scrims, but here on stage today, it's looked very weak and really has not justified the priority placed on it.
And you can see Fnatic's win condition on the last pick. They have the Shen ult for the Akali, play over side, try to shut down Wunder on the Jace, just play over side as much as you could. And you can even see in fights before they started, both of them were trying to push aside as much as they could, but they caught out Wunder once, but that was about it.
Yeah, let's talk a bit about Wunder. I think he had a phenomenal performance already last week in G2's first best of 5, but also here on the Jace, even though sometimes it might not look as good because he does end up dying at the end, he makes so much happen whenever he gets ganked.
Yeah, he put so much pressure on his lane. I mean, Jankos gave Shen a kill. Even though that happened, he was still up 20-30 CS. His mechanics on the Jace were basically flawless, and just the way he played the fights and the skirmishes were really good. I mean, when he had his Muramana Yomos Black Cleaver, he was so unleashed. He was doing so much damage in fights, and even on the 1v1 here, plays it so good. The JSW is kind of strong in the late game, but just in general, he played it so well.
Any other character that doesn't work, the max attack speed, making sure that he gets to kill him mid-dash, the damage, it's just so disgusting. It's the little things that really add up in those situations. And yeah, absorbing that pressure was a really big deal because it was not running smoothly for G2 in the early game. But obviously, while Wunder was kind of the unsung hero this game, the man that everyone's naturally going to be talking about is Caps, because once again, this man can 1v9 Fnatic. Who can't he 1v9? This man is absolutely unstoppable on Orion.
Yeah, you can't give Caps kills. I mean, he has Seth Leona on his team, but he's the one pulling the trigger. They have the Herald in mid. He instantly pulls out the ult, and I think his ults this game were fantastic, whether it was 2-3-man ults, which is exactly what you need in a team fight, or just saving his ult for when Akali jumps in. I think that was also super important. Every time Nemesis tried to jump in, Caps was on it, instantly popping the ult, one-shotting him. And I feel like if you give Caps kills and he snowballs, it's really hard to shut him down.
Yeah, and if you look at the other side, I mean, Caps was doing everything with the advantage that he was given or that he took, and I think on the other side, there was distinct lack of the carries doing something with what they've been given. I think Nemesis couldn't put a stamp on this game. Reckless had a huge lead, and I don't want to put this on those two players, you know, alone. It's about the team not making the decisions to make these picks work either.
Yeah, I think just to jump on the Reckless train first, because I think that there's a lot to be said about both of them. I'll say that in Reckless's defense, it's a very difficult game to play Jhin in, because Jace with Muramana can burst you out very quickly. If you play at a safe range and you have someone to peel for you, it's pretty okay. But for the most part, he didn't really have any situations where he could step forward. Now, would I have liked to see a bit more aggression from him? Yes. But the fact that Fnatic funneled all the gold into this guy, and they see the composition, they kind of know the scenarios that are going to play out, and then couldn't find a fight where they got to utilize his gold lead at all. I wouldn't be surprised if his damage this game was just pitifully low because he was playing PvE. Means that there was really no hope of them winning out in fights, because Nemesis, well, he certainly tried, but it just did not work.
Yeah, I mean, Reckless was really he had so much resources throughout the game. I mean, Perks was rotating for Heralds, rotating for lane swaps, trying to get Jace in the right lane, and Reckless was just the one catching every wave possible. And even when there was team fights starting and Perks was setting up for the fights, Reckless was kind of split pushing or catching mid wave, so Reckless was really ahead. He had 2-3 items like 22 minutes, but he never really got to shine, because I think the whole idea of their comp is playing over side, whereas in team fights, Akali jumped in, got one shot, now Shen's not there anymore.
Let's look at it. You brought it up, I think, especially this team fight. Akali jumped in and just it was really inexplicable to me, but there is a longer setup to this specific Drake fight. It starts all the way in the mid lane where G2 is acting like a death ball composition.
All right, Kadril, Utaki, I draw.
Okay.
I was told we have the drawing tools. I don't
so
know
you're
where
gonna
they
draw
are.
for him?
Oh, am I just allowed to just touch?
Touch it and pause it, I think.
Woo! Sick. All right, wait.
So
we'll wait for
you
this
can
one to
see
play out.
G2 is just a death ball here. They're going as 5. They know Jace can't go bots because Akali can go on in with the Shen ult, so they're essentially just going as a 5-man. And you can see right there when Mickey places that ward and sees Hylissang, they know where Hylissang is, so they can't get flanked. So if you want to roll the clip here, Hylissang spotted out.
Oh my god, it's running away from me.
I can't see it on the replay, luckily.
Okay, who's ever controlling this on the PC end is absolutely trying to...
He's trolling him.
It broke.
Let's bring it back without
Back. Hi,
can
there
explain
was
it now
never
that
any
it's over,
drawing.
that's fine.
Forget that this happened. Wow, guys, we have this great replay.
Can I just... This is such an important series, but your micro getting over that couch and back.
That was good.
All
right.
So you can see them.
Pedro, break it down.
So they used to send a W. It's 5-man to get the mid pro out. They're moving to Drake. I mean, it's their Infernal Soul. And Mickey sees Hylissang, and he pulls a trick on him. Everyone from G2 is ready. They all run instantly towards Hylissang. They don't want to get flanked by this Akali. Nemesis eat over the wall to try to get the flank, but he's not in position. So Hylissang's kind of out the fight. The Jhin ult's been used, and now G2, they stay as a 5-man. That's so important. They run straight to the Drake as a 5-man. And you can see Whippo splits pushing bot, and Nemesis tries to make the fight happen here. Hylissang's kind of out of it. Nemesis gets one-shotted, and I mean, Mickey plays it so good. Instantly flashes onto Selfmade there. And Infernal Soul, Baron, with this kind of comp, it's kind of over.
Yeah, and obviously this is the moment that people are going to look back for Nemesis and call him out for, and I think it's totally fair. But at the same time, we have to just praise G2 for identifying how do they lose a fight if we split up, if we get picked off. And on the other side, for Fnatic, you heard it from the casters, and you're going to hear it from us too. This was not coordinated. This was not put together, and they were forced into a difficult position because it was Infernal Soul. And you could tell that everyone on the team knew that they had to do something, just that they clearly didn't agree on what that something was.
And now we're into game 3. We now have a couple of trends that we saw in picks and bans. And Fnatic is on red side for game 3.
Well, I think G2's going to do the same thing. The Astral, Ashe, Evelynn bans really worked out for them. First picking the Senna also works. I don't think Fnatic can change their bans, honestly, unless they want to risk leaving the Kalista or the Lucian up. I think Caitlyn's locked. But if you give like G2 a Lucian flex for bot mid, or you give them a Kalista, I think that they can snowball way harder.
I'm confused. They got to pick, no? They lost the game.
Yeah.
They did lose the game, and they chose to run it back.
Oh.
So the thing is like, what's interesting about this is that this is following very traditional best of 5 like mental theory, which is that like, okay, we're going to play the same thing again. We'll see what you change. We'll try to run it back. But it's interesting to me that Fnatic are now going to continue to run it back. Yesterday, we saw kind of a step away from that where teams are usually finally opting to swap sides. But clearly, Fnatic like having the counter pick. They like having this adjustability. And something's going to change, right? And for me, it might be, maybe it's the Jhin, maybe it's the Lilia. Those are the 2 picks that I'm really looking at to change because I think the Shen was fine. I think the Akali, the theory's there, even if the execution wasn't. But those are the ones that Jhin got all the resources and did nothing. That's a bad look. Lilia continues to be, I think, pretty underwhelming. So those are the picks I expect to change.
Yeah, I think if Fnatic's going to run back red side, they've obviously identified something that went wrong. And I think the main 3 things that I can see are the top side picks. I think the Shen blind pick doesn't really fit very well. I think an Urgots or something better, or even just pick Orianna on 4 pick like they did last time. Just blind pick the Orianna. It's absolutely fine. You can counter top. I think the Akali Shen, this play over sides thing's not going to work for them. Play for team fights. And like you said, the 3rd pick Lilia, not a huge fan. You could have luxed for something like a Kha'Zix on 3, which is Selfmade's really good at, or even just go back with the Hecarim, Orianna on 4, and then just counter pick top again.
All right, that's a good plan there, spelled out by Cadril. Let's see what they do. G2 and Fnatic have traded blows in this first game, so let's see who takes the lead when we return.